Welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast that helps entrepreneurs go all in on their business, and we introduce them to professionals that can help them to do so. Today, we have a very special guest. Ellakisha, how are you doing today?
I am beautifully, wonderfully great. How are
Awesome.
you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. Please introduce yourself in the name of your business.
Yes, Ellakisha O'Kelley, Scire de Jure legal law firm.
Awesome. We so look forward to learning more about your practice, but before that, we want to learn a little bit more about your journey. And we understand that time is one of our most valuable resources. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
About my journey. All right. So let's go back a little bit. Born and raised, Albany, New York, middle child of three. So we know how that goes when we talk about middle child. You have to figure out your way.
That's
So
right.
that has been my thing throughout life. You're not young, you're not old, you're right in the middle. But I've been a trailblazer. First generation, everything. First gen to graduate from high school, first gen to go to college, grad school, and then become an attorney. So left Albany, New York because track, the gift of speed in my legs brought me outside of New York and brought me to the South, University of South Carolina, where I competed in track and field, did amazing things there, got a lot of experience competing at a Division I SEC school, made history there, being the first female to win both the 100 hurdles and 400 hurdles for SEC championship, national champion, all the things. And then I eventually graduated, actually, with a great GPA. I was awarded the top female student athlete of the university, which means you had to maintain high level of achievements athletically and high level of achievements academically. And I did both. And then I graduated and I ran with Nike. I ran at the 2000 Sydney Olympic trials here in the US. I was the Olympic alternate for the Sydney Olympics and then traveled the world because of that. And I had an exceptional time traveling the world as an athlete. Physically, I was an athlete, but in heart, I was always a businesswoman. So
Mm-hmm.
even while I was traveling and competing, I was just taking in so much around me that was going on business wise with me personally, with my agents and managers, and also just learning a lot around from my colleagues and helping them a lot. So after competing professionally, I then went back to grad school. I worked in the banking system for a while. I worked in the HR system for a while, and then I just missed it. Something about when you're an athlete, especially for how many years I was an athlete, you're always seeking. So all those things didn't really fulfill it for me. So I went into coaching and I coached at a Division II university, HBCU, Fort Valley State University. Got there and had my athletes break all the records,
Mm-hmm.
nationals and everything. And so feel like I reached my pinnacle. And I was like, I want to do something else. I want to do something else. I'm going to go back to law school. I'm going back to school. I went to law school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was honestly my thought of going to law school because I thought I was going to enter back into HR, but on a higher level. And I just wanted to go to law school to get my legal knowledge with state and federal law. But when I got into law school, that's when I realized why I was actually there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man, that is awesome story. First of all, congratulations on all of your accomplishments.
Thank you.
Now, being such a great athlete, winning all of those awards and being able to travel the world, tell us, out of all those places that you traveled, what would you say would be the one that had the most impression on you as you were out and about visiting the world?
Oh, man. I would say Italy, Nice, Italy.
Mm-hmm.
It had a lot of pressure because it was just beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
but also was one of the wake up calls for me to really take in and learn culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you travel, you have to learn the different places you're at. Because I remember we were treated to a beautiful dinner, high caliber dinner. And here I am, the chef, they did it up for us. They brought us out this great meal. I'm digging in the meal, so it's like rice with the sauce, and there was something between the sauce. I put my fork in it. All of a sudden, all this egg yolk came out. I was like, oh. And I learned that I offended because they gave us their best, right? And so that for me was a beautiful place to be, but it was a wake up call to expand my mindset. And from there, I started to really dive into wherever I'm traveling and learn culturally. So that was the most memorable for me because of that.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, you don't know what you don't know,
You don't know
and
what you don't know.
and it's not great at that moment that you had that experience, but overall it
Yes.
helped you to understand a little bit more. And I say it all the time, every experience that we have, good, bad, or indifferent, helps build our character to push us forwards in life. So now, if you have any exploding egg yolk, to just be like, let me keep it inside and tell them it's gross when I get home.
Well, it depends on where I'm at. If
Okay.
I'm here in America, you know, give me a spoiler, and I didn't ask for that. But I do know wherever I go, I have to learn like what are their cultural norms. Like you're trying to serve me the best, and here
Yes.
I am crunching my nose up. So
Yes. Yes.
I definitely have to learn that. But in Germany, I got lost, and I learned to relax and find your way back. So that was a life learning
Lesson.
lesson for me too there. So
Well, awesome, awesome. I want to touch a little bit about your coaching. It's because you've had a lot of success as you were the athlete. Can you share with us how you were able to just channel that same championship mindset into those kids and help to grow them and put them in a position to succeed at their HBCU?
that is a wonderful question, Rod, because a lot of people that can actually do can't teach. I've experienced that with different coaches. I mean, I've had some coaches that never did track and were the best coaches, and some who did weren't the best. And I think for me, I was able to translate it because by in my heart, naturally, I'm an educator. And that's what I realized because everything I do, I'm always educating. And an educator means you have to become a student first. So I've always studied. I was a student of the sport. I wasn't just training and competing. I was like studying the sport, studying the body, studying competitors. And I was able to, transfer the educational part with the experience part and transform other athletes.
Yes, that's magnificent. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm sure those athletes don't even know the impression that you left on them. They probably still carry some of those things that you shared with them then now into their adult life. So thank you so much for being a teacher and a coach. Now, as we were talking and I did doing my research, you're a little bit unique because once you finished your law degree, you decided to go all in from the beginning instead of working with one of those firms. Can you tell me what was the event or the mindset that made you say, you know what, I'm going to burn the ship from the beginning and go all in on my own business?
Absolutely. Well, throughout, like I said, when I first got into law school, I thought I was going for one thing and realized I was there for another. I was there to put all of the experiences I had, personal experiences, together with this education that I'm actually getting. But I still didn't make my mind up until my last year. So leading up, doing internships, I was at Fulton County, doing internships, got an offer there. I was with the Department for Human Resource, got an offer there, and then several law firms I got offers from, especially when they found out that I was a former athlete, that I can kind of help lead in that division for entertainers and athletes, sports and entertainment. But as I thought about a lot of the conversations that I was having and some of the responsibilities and how it will all look, I had to sit and think really hard about if I wanted to hang my own shingle or jump in somewhere else. And at first I thought maybe at least just 1 year go with someone because that's that fear that kind of came up. Like 1 year, you don't know. And I just had validation when my phone started ringing off the hook towards my last semester with just different from connections and word of mouth referrals coming in. Oh, are you licensed yet? I have this situation. So literally, right when I, passed the bar and all that great stuff, I got a call from a friend who was coaching the top high school sprinter who got an offer from the University of Tennessee and was like, would you rep him? So either I would have taken him somewhere else or I would have done it. And I decided I'm going to do it because I needed me when I was an athlete going through this from high school to college to professional, being first gen. No one could advise me. I had to find the mentors to help me build through. So I knew I didn't want to pass this person off to anyone else. And I decided I'm hanging a shingle, hung it with that situation. And from there, it kept going, and I had no time to look back.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great that you had went through that experience and you knew that you could help them, because you didn't have the help and you still were successful. Just imagine if you had that mentorship and that help, where things could have been. And that's awesome that you decided to do that for them. So now you're going, you got the practice going, and we want you to share with us everything that you're doing. How are you helping people now? Who are those ideal people to try to connect you with? Tell us all about your business.
Absolutely. So right now, same thing I've been doing when I first started. I focus on protecting and educating founders for small to mid-sized businesses, sports professionals. So now it's not just athletes, it's individuals that's involved in sports, and creatives. And my heart, I have a special place in my heart dedicated for first gen in all of those areas. So I help anyone in those areas, but I have a special place in my heart for first generational clients in those particular areas. And what I do is make sure that they're protecting their intellectual property, which is their trademark, copyright. Make sure that their contracts are secure. So any type of business transactions, deals that they're entering into, that they're understanding their contractual transactional obligations and rights. And then lastly, business entity structure, making sure, because there's a lot of people that start businesses. There's a lot of people that pay for a piece of paper, but don't truly have a business entity that can protect them. So I make sure that they're legally structured with their business.
Yeah, nice. Now, as you talked about how you're helping the students, things have been changing a lot now
Yes.
with the NIL in college and in high school. Tell us a little
Yes.
bit about what you've seen on that format and how you're able to help navigate through that situation.
Yeah, so I help athletes in that area too, not just legally, but I also help athletes and parents, and I educate them. So I offer some courses. I also have podcasts where I drop all types of information. And throughout the NIL transition, since 2020, I've been given information to help them navigate it because, and this is ironic, probably not ironic, just fate. In law school, we have to pick a directive study, something that we have to study and do research on and write a whole directive paper on. And I chose the name, image, and likeness. Should athletes be paid for their talent? At the time, we weren't even there yet. And, interviewed the Georgia State coach, did all this deep dive. And just like then and now, I feel the same way. Yes, as an athlete, we should, I believe strongly, be paid for our name, image, and likeness. That is an asset we have. At the same time, what I always was concerned about is that we will roll this out without having the borders in place. So now the very thing that we struggled with as professional athletes would trickle down to collegiate and now high school, where you can't even get kids to make their bed, right? They don't understand
Yeah.
taxes. I'm asking for money, but also you may be taxed if it's not money. It could also be in kind, all types of things. So I help parents, guardians, athletes navigate that entire space and empower them on understanding you're now more than an athlete. If you want to play this big boy game, you are a CEO of yourself.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for enlightening us on that aspect of what you're doing. Just like when you were in college, you were multifaceted doing the 100, the 400-meter hurdles. You're also a speaker and an author. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about those two things and who you're speaking for, what are you speaking on, and then tell us a little bit about the books.
Yeah, so far as transformational speaker, that's what I do. I speak to transform lives. I go deeper than motivating and inspiring. I give you something that you can walk away with and transform. I actually just did my second TED Talk on the 23rd. I can't wait for that video to drop. And that TED Talk, I spoke to the first gen. It was my talk was the first gen effect, and it was about the first, but everybody the first, right? So it wasn't just the first as first gen. I gave a framework for the first because we're all possibly the first in something. And so I gave the framework GEN, which is grit, elevation, and navigation. So those type of transformational talks I give is the same way I show up in the legal work that I do. Is the same way I show up in the authorship that I do. So I wrote a book, well, several actually. I wrote Code v Code, the street code versus the legal code. And I'm speaking to empowering individuals understanding how we move and navigate in our business, with our intellectual property, how we move the street way, but how we have to understand the legal code to protect ourselves and to actually elevate. And I got a contract book, and I actually have four more that's about to drop.
That is magnificent. Now, as we wrap up things when it comes to you being an attorney, is it where is specific states you can help? Tell us a little bit about that geographical area of how you're helping people.
Absolutely. So you have two types of practicing attorneys. You have litigators and transactional attorneys. I was always pushed to be a litigator because I was one of the ones that competed in oral arguments and stuff here, and I won all over Georgia. And so my professors and mentors, everyone wanted me to use my talent for litigating. But again, because of my experience, I knew I could be more impactful and much more needed transactional. So with transactional, we have a little more leeway. Litigator, if I'm licensed in Georgia and I show up in a Georgia court, that's it. Transactional, it depends. So since it's transactional means paperwork, I'm not going to just assume people who's listening understand. It means not showing up in the court, but I do all the paper type stuff, intellectual property contracts. If someone is living in Georgia, I represent you in all those areas. If you're not here, your transaction has to be tied here in some type of way, or it has to be a temporary representation.
Okay. Yeah, just wanted to make sure, that the people, when they reach out to you, they know that they can get assistance.
Oh,
And
yes.
I definitely appreciate you putting a bow on that. Now, I am confident that over your time in New York, down South Carolina, across the world, and your time in business, you have acquired and nurtured a bunch of business skills or best practices that have helped you to be successful. Do you mind sharing with the audience a couple of those best practices where they may add that to their mix and try to strive towards that same success?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just transferable skills. Everything that I've done as an athlete. I always tell people, like, even in some of my transformational talks, I'm an athlete in life now. I may not be an athlete in track and field, but I'm an athlete in life. We're all athletes in life. So I transferred those skills into being a business owner as well. So discipline, writing the vision and making it clear. The same thing I did. If there were goals that I had as an athlete, I didn't just keep the goals here because we're easy to just duck out of it. To keep myself accountable, I wrote it down. Not just to keep myself accountable, but to make it very clear and remind myself of what I am achieving. So write the vision, make it clear in your business or whatever you're doing. Visualize that you actually have attained it. That's what I did. You have to not just see it, but actually feel it in your bones. You attained whatever it is in your business already. And then reverse engineer. So as an athlete, if I wanted to win a race, I will look, or to make USA national championships, I will look out in June of making it and have to reverse engineer. What do I need to do in May? What do I need to do in April? So I will go all the way back what I need to do in order to get here. So those are the same things that I transfer over into business.
Yes, magnificent skill there. Start with the end in mind so you can set a clear path and get your way to what that goal is. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, we want to talk a little bit more about you. We've talked a lot about the journey, the business, those business skills, but let's just say that the business is continuing to come along fine. Time and money is no issue at all. What would Ellakisha do with her time?
Yeah, same thing I do now. And that's another thing that I make time and money no issue, right? I trust the process. So I would do the same thing, probably 10x a little more, but the same thing. I make sure I take care of me first. Without you at your best, everything else fails. And a lot of times, and this is something that is pushed, especially in entrepreneurship, you can't sleep, no this, no that. You don't have time for it. You do. Because if you're trying to be your best you and you're going to scale, you need to be your best you. The most selfish muscle in our body is our heart. Our heart, because it has to be. It gets all the blood and pumps it out to where it needs to go. If it was not selfish and took care of itself, our whole body would just crumble. So it's the same thing. That's what I would do. Focus on me first, and then after me, well, above me is for me. It's God, and then I focus on me, and then my family. I make sure that we spend time, because the one thing I've learned, especially since 2020, it's been a ride after COVID. Losing family, friends, colleagues left and right. When I turn around, they're exiting. And so I realized the one thing we will not get back is time. And we're always, every day, going to have more behind us than in front of us. So I take care of self, and then I make sure I spend the time I need with my loved ones.
Magnificent. Now, if the people that are watching today have questions about your journey, your business, your books, your speaking engagements, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Absolutely. They can go to my website, allaboutella.com. And that's literally what it is, All About Ella. So when you go there, it has everything that I do, from the legal, it has a dedicated page to that, speaking engagements, my podcast, and any type of work, books, and things that I've put out as well. I also have right now a trademark course. So I know that there's individuals who probably say, possibly I can't get legal right now, but I try to give people no excuses, because it's important for us to secure our legacy. So I have a in-depth trademark course. So on there, they can find all that stuff as well.
Excellent, excellent. So we appreciate you coming on the show today. You have done a magnificent job of sharing your story, great illustration on what you've been through. And we always like to honor our guests by giving them the last word. So if you can, please look into the camera and tell the people something good.
Absolutely. No one is coming to save you or secure your legacy. It's you. Everything starts with you. As the ownership attorney, the empowerment influencer, I always tell people, you were given 3 amazing gifts when you was put on this earth. 3 amazing assets. So we all started with 3 assets: your name, your image, and likeness. What you do with what you're given all begins and ends with you. So do everything possible and never go subpar in elevating those 3 gifts.
Magnificent. Thank you so much for those wise words, and thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, my pleasure. I had fun. Thank you for your amazing questions, and thank you for the invite.
Yes, of course, of course. And to everyone that is watching, be kind and thanks.